Mr. Kobayashi warned us, don't do anything to hinder the police's investigation. Of course, I wanted to leave the room as intact as possible. However, I couldn't definitely promise that since I didn't know what I was supposed to look for. For now, I nodded and went upstairs with Toshio and Mori. Boom. Crossfade. Standing in front of Mr. Tanaka's room, my feet were chilly. Cold air was seeping out from under the door. Toshio asked me, just what do you plan to check? Without replying, I silently opened the door. Countless snowflakes were whirling around the room. It was like a freezer in here. Snow blowing in through the broken window covered at least half of the bed near it. Shaking, Mari shouted, it's freezing. I can't stay in here any longer than 5 minutes. Let's check the bathroom first. We entered the bathroom to take refuge from the cold. The three of us couldn't fit inside, so we left the door open. The standard bath was fairly wide. At first glance, nothing looked out of the ordinary. I checked to see if the soap had been used. I checked for any signs the bathtub had been used. I checked to see if the towels were damp. Oh, man. I mean, I would select them all, but for this one, checked for any signs the bathtub had been used. Checked to see if the soap had been used for cleaning, but also so I feel like checking the towels damp is pretty specific, because it's like, what, he had showered, or he had cleaned, or the murderer had cleaned off or something. I checked to see if the towels were damp. They were dry and looked unused. Of course, there was nothing under the sink or in the toilet. When I looked up, the ceiling had a square-shaped cut in it. You could get to the attic here. Mari, could you look up there if I give you a boost on my shoulders? Sure, but will you be okay? I'm pretty heavy. So about 70 kilos? Oh, you jerk. There's no way I'm that heavy. Then it'll be fine. I'm a man, you know. I squatted down and Mari got on my shoulders. Unfortunately, she wasn't wearing a skirt, but I could feel this mother trucker. Wow, but I could feel her thighs through her jeans. You're not thinking of anything dirty, are you? I'm not. I stood up as I said that. Yeah, she's heavy. I resisted saying that out loud. Maria removed the square towel above her head and stuck her head into the ceiling. See anything? Nope, not a thing. So it was a wasted effort, but for now we knew there was nothing in the bathroom. Toshio shouted from outside the bathroom, hey, it's freezing here, hurry up. I brought Mari down and we hurried out of the bathroom. Man, I chose the wrong answer for that one. Next, the closet. Earlier, I made sure that nobody was hiding here, but I hadn't checked the luggage or the clothes. We thrust the curtains open and looked inside. There was just a gray coat on a hanger and a big rolling bag for skis under it. I crouched down and pulled the bag to me. I checked all its pockets and such, but it was empty without even a scrap of paper. Mari said the killer must have taken whatever was here. Maybe, but what? Perhaps 200 million yen? Looks like she still had that bank robbery on the mind. Toshio butted in to ask, what about a change of clothes? Huh? A change of clothes? He didn't look like a skier, but maybe he had a change of clothes. I'd normally agree, but if the killer was a fugitive, I wouldn't know. They might not have had any time to prepare one. Mari was looking through the coat pockets, not even a wallet inside. The killer must have taken it. Maybe they did it to keep us from learning their identity. Next, the inside of the room. We looked around for any personal effects in there. Shaking, I kept watch over Toshio. Hurry up already. If you want to leave the room, you can go ahead. When I taunted him, Toshio said no more. I briefly looked around and under the bed, but there was nothing. All that was left was the body by the window. I knew it. We have to check the body. My voice shook from the cold and from fear. Mari said, I see. I think I'll pass. Having no choice, I stepped into the snow on the floor. It felt like I stepped on ice with my bare feet, as if I hadn't have my slippers on. Achoo! Achoo! Just a sneeze. I slowly went around the bed and peeked at where the body was. Thankfully, it was completely covered in snow, so I couldn't see it. But after my momentary relief, I realized that I'd have to brush off the snow to check the body. Ugh. My whole body trembling, I brushed the snow off. There was a rustling sound as my hand touched the rough surface. It was the frozen hair. He's tampering with evidence now. I carefully brushed the snow off, trying to not touch the body. Just as when we had found it earlier, a pile of severed body parts appeared. Nausea rose from the bottom of my stomach. It doesn't look like Madari had come here to check this. The body looks untouched. Mari asked from a distance. I see. Then what do you think she did check? Oh god, that scared me. You got that jump scare. Toshio shouted, "Hey, let's go back already." Even I agreed with him. Chilled to the bone when we left the room, we returned to the lounge. It looked like everyone was safe, with not even one person missing. Mr. Kobayashi looked at us and asked, "Did you find something?" "Nothing. It looks like the killer already took all of Mr. Tanaka's belongings." Mari spoke for me since I couldn't speak well with my lips frozen. Mr. Kobayashi muttered, "I see. So as we thought, Mr. Tanaka had something like a lot of money. That was their goal." Brr, I'm cold. I tried to go to the heater to warm myself. There was a crashing sound. Loud sounds outside the window soon followed. I was surprised for a moment, but I soon remembered they were just snow falling off the roof. "You surprised again?" Mari sounded a little amused. "You'd be surprised if you heard loud sounds like that." I was about to say that, but stayed quiet. "What's wrong? Hey, why the strange face?" I must have looked really weird since Mari sounded anxious when she asked that. Just then, thoughts were beginning to take shape in my head. But it was hard to accept them so suddenly. I said, "Oh man, so what is it?" "I know the killer's identity for all the cases." Mari doubtfully asked me, "Really? Then you know who killed Mr. Tanaka?" I decisively answered, "Of course." Mari asked me with a doubtful look in her eyes, "You really know? Who in the world is it?" Without immediately answering her, I looked at everyone and started talking. When we heard the window shatter, everyone except Toshio was in the lounge. So at first I thought that if Mr. Tanaka's killer was one of us, Toshio was the most suspicious. Everyone uncomfortably looked at him. He met our stares with an offended look on his face. But I realized that if they used the trick, it was possible for someone in the lounge to have committed the crime. When I said that, it looked like Toshio was relaxed for a moment. Mari asked, "What do you mean by that? A trick? A trick with a time discrepancy." "A time discrepancy with when the attack happened?" "Right. We heard the window shatter and rushed upstairs, but we don't know if we actually heard it shatter at that time." "But wasn't the window broken?" Mr. Kobayashi looked like he didn't understand. "That's what I meant by a time discrepancy. The window definitely shattered. However, it did not necessarily shatter at the same time we heard it. Do you understand? The sound? They only had to create the sound later." Mari's face suddenly lit up. "That's right," I nodded. "After dinner, the killer went to kill Mr. Tanaka in his room and dismembered the body. Then they shattered the window without it making a sound." "How?" "For example, the killer could have covered it in packaging tape and then forcefully struck the glass. It could muffle the sound and keep the glass fragments from shattering everywhere. It's an old thieves' trick." "Son, you know a lot of weird things." Seeing the doubt in Mr. Koyama's stare, I shook my head in a panic. "It was just something I saw on TV." "I get how the window shattered silently. What did they do next?" "Next, the killer placed a pre-recorded tape recorder somewhere." "A tape recorder? But nothing like that was in the room, was there?" "It didn't have to be in Mr. Tanaka's room. They wouldn't have known where we'd be when we first heard the sound, right?" "That's true." But what kind of tape recorder could make the sound echo that loudly? Wouldn't it need to be proportionately large? Mari hit upon a weak point in the argument. Moreover, I have the weird feeling they would have had to come here with that pre-recorded tape of the sound of glass shattering. What Mr. Kobayashi said was reasonable. When the glass actually shattered, perhaps it was recorded, and because it was quiet, it was played back much louder. I didn't get that impression when we heard it. I don't think it would sound the same as the real thing if you just made it louder. Hearing this from Mari, I slightly corrected my conclusion. That maybe it was like this. It was the sound of actual glass shattering. However, it was not the room's window, but a separate piece of glass prepared by the killer. I looked around at everyone and thought, how about this? But then, wouldn't they have had to shatter the glass somewhere anyway? How did they do it? Plus, how would they have brought the glass inside? Mari listed off problems one by one. Oh, so I shouldn't have said that I knew who did it. Oops. Getting irritated, I answered, those are trifling issues, okay? If what I'm saying is wrong, then the killer has to be Toshio. However, it doesn't seem to me that he killed either Mr. Tanaka or Midori. A faint glimmer appeared in Toshio's dark eyes. Then if it wasn't me, who the heck did it? His voice was husky. For a moment, I silently organized my thoughts. The killer could have been in the lounge if they had a way to create the sound of glass shattering using tape or whatever. But some of us either didn't go upstairs or couldn't have had the time to do it. Let's eliminate them from consideration. First, after dinner, myself and Mari stayed in the lounge the whole time. Excuse me. And never went upstairs. I believe several of you can corroborate this. Next, Mr. Kobayashi was at the reception after dinner, and later was with us. We didn't see Mrs. Kobayashi for a while, but I'm sure she was cleaning up in the kitchen after dinner. When I looked at them, they both clearly nodded. Mr. Mikimoto had arrived long after dinner was finished, and the time he went upstairs, it seems all he could do was take his luggage, unless he used something like a chainsaw. I don't think it was him. There were no objections, so I kept going. As for the three ladies, Miss Watase, Miss Kitano, and Miss Kawamura, when they returned to their room and found that threatening note, they immediately came downstairs. As I thought, they had no time to do it. For a moment, I paused because I was hesitant to continue. So then, Mr. Kiyama asked that with a drawn facial expression. That's all. Mr. and Mrs. Kiyama, we have eliminated everyone but the two of you. In other words, I believe the killer was one of you. Dumbfounded, Mrs. Kiyama looked at me and her husband. He almost spat out at me. That's ridiculous. How could I have... I never had the time to dismember the body like that. Same for Haruko. We've been together the whole time, haven't we? Mrs. Kiyama looked as surprised as if she had been suddenly stabbed. Yes, that's right. I felt pain in the pit of my stomach from the silence in the room. Breaking it, I kept going. Let's think about the case of Midori's murder. When Mr. Mikimoto had been attacked, Toshio and Mr. Kobayashi were outside. Everyone else, including me, should have been mostly waiting in the lounge. That is, except for one. Everyone concentrated on Mr. Kiyama. Me? But wasn't I here in the lounge? No, you weren't here the whole time. You had gone upstairs alone to try to use your cell phone. You said it yourself, I'll just try it out. That's right. Well, yes, I was upstairs, but how could I have attacked Mr. Mikimoto when he was outside? If you think about it a little, you'll see it was quite simple for you. I stopped talking and looked at everyone, but nobody said anything. You see, Mr. Mikimoto was attacked right under Mr. Tanaka's room. Just opposite from that room is the Kiyama's room. It wouldn't have been difficult for him to go between the rooms without anyone seeing. Mari suddenly gasped. Then Mr. Kiyama attacked Mr. Mikimoto from above in Mr. Tanaka's room. Maybe. It's simple. Tie a hard, heavy object like a stone to the end of a rope. You could either wait for the victim to appear below and throw it down or swing it like a pendulum. I swung my arms to show what I meant. That's exactly why neither Toshio nor Mr. Kobayashi would have seen anyone right before it happened. In both cases, the killer was not physically there. I wasn't confident in it at first, but talking it out like this convinced me that I was right. You bastard! You bastard! Suddenly, Toshio lunged at Mr. Kiyama. who was still sitting down. You son of a bitch! Screaming like he had gone crazy, he strangled Mr. Kiyama. Mr. Kiyama tried to shake free from Toshio's grip, but he couldn't compete. At first, everyone else was only watching in complete astonishment, but when Mr. Kobayashi heard Mr. Kiyama groaning in pain, he quickly entered the fray to stop Toshio. Toshio, calm down. Mr. Kobayashi's words also brought Mr. Mikimoto to his senses. Please stop, there's no need for violence. He hurried to pin Toshio down. I reflexively protected Mari. Let go of me. The two of them managed to tear away Toshio, who was struggling like a mad dog. Coughing. Holding his neck, Mr. Kiyama was gasping for breath and violently coughing. Mrs. Kiyama was shaking and looked white as paper. I'll kill you, I will kill you. With Mr. Mikimoto holding him back in a full Nelson, Toshio was glaring at Mr. Kiyama with a fiery look in his eyes. Calm down, Toshio. Mr. Kobayashi forcibly slapped his cheek. That loud sound surprised us all. Toshio himself was staring at Mr. Kobayashi with his mouth wide open. Mr. Kobayashi, why? With a grim expression, he strongly rebuked Toshio, who was so surprised that he couldn't speak. We have no certain evidence, so we must not declare Mr. Kiyama to be the killer. You know better than this. Next, he turned to me. Toru, you also need to stop basically guessing about what happened. It will only confuse us. I was slightly annoyed. But before I could speak myself, Mari rebuked her uncle. They're not baseless guesses. Uncle Jiru, are you protecting Mr. Kiyama because he helped you at your last job? If you think Toru was mistaken, show me proof. Mr. Kobayashi opened his mouth but had no retort. Suddenly Aki stood up and screamed, I don't want to be with him. I'm going back to my room. She certainly was talking about Mr. Kiyama. Me too. Kanako and Kaiko stood up. Panicking, Mr. Kobayashi said, please wait a moment. It's clear that we're safer together, so... Aki shot him a hard stare and angrily shouted, so tie him up somewhere else. I won't drink tea with a murderer. I thought my spine had frozen seeing the normally cheerful Aki glaring at Mr. Kobayashi. Anyway, we're going to our room and nothing tonight will make us leave. The three of them said that and resolutely went upstairs without letting anyone tell them otherwise. Will they be okay? It may be dangerous for them to be alone. Looking flustered, Mr. Mikimoto was looking back and forth between the girls' backs and our faces. Staring at Mr. Kiyama, Toshio said, if the killer dies, we can all sleep in peace. What? You still think I did it? You were originally the prime suspect, Toshio. Your fake tears won't trick me. What? Are you still pretending you're innocent? Toshio shouted, his face red again. Please stop, everyone, a heartbroken voice echoed. Mrs. Kobayashi was covering her face and had broken down crying. Taken aback, Toshio couldn't move. Aren't you ashamed to be doubting and insulting each other like that? But, Mrs. Kobayashi, he killed Midori. Toshio's words landed on deaf ears. With a blank look in her eyes, she kept muttering to herself, it's impossible, it's all a lie, all a dream. This can't be happening. Kyoko, snap out of it. When Mr. Kobayashi said that to her and shook her shoulders, she silently started to cry. Staring at them like that, Toshio turned around to me. Toru, huh? What do you think so far? Are you confident in what you've deduced? After some hesitation, I said, I thought about it again. And no, I'm not. Dang, they let you go back. That puts us in a real bind now. Maybe so, but I've told you all what I think. Everyone, I'll let you decide if I'm correct or not. We all looked at each other's faces when I said that. It was Mari who started us off. I believe Toru. I don't know any other possibilities. Several others agreed. Mr. Koyama said, hold on. You don't mean to decide this by majority vote, do you? Majority vote? That may work, but I said we hold a trial. We live in a democracy, after all. Toshio curved his lips into a smile. Perplexed, I asked back, a trial? Right. Toru, will be our prosecutor, and we will be the jurors. Either Mr. or Mrs. Koyama may be the defense. If we unanimously decide that they are guilty, you're not going to kill me, are you? I'd like to, but locking you up would be for the best. Toshio sounded disappointed, but Mr. Koyama looked relieved. If that satisfies you, do whatever you want. So then, Toru, won't you start with the prosecution? I was at a loss being told that so suddenly, but everyone was staring at me with serious expressions. With no other choice now, I started talking like someone in a TV drama I'd seen. Saichi Koyama, we charge you with the murders of, what was his first name? Well, the murders of Mr. Tanaka as well as Midori Shinozaki. Also for attacking me. Mr. Mikimoto sounded apologetic. We also charge you with the assault of Mr. Mikimoto. Because I've already stated the general facts, I will sum up the main points. Mr. Koyama is the only one who could have killed Mr. Tanaka as well as could have assaulted Mr. Mikimoto. Therefore, it seems that he is the killer. Toshio sarcastically asked, Mr. Koyama, do you insist that you are innocent? Of course, I didn't do it. Then the defense's counter-argument. Can you keep up that overacting of yours? I told you I didn't do it. I have nothing more to say to you. I think it's also strange how in the beginning, Mr. Koyama was like, I was like telling him, I was responding to his job when he was talking about offering me a job, and he was just completely ignoring me, like his mind was elsewhere. So that's something to consider. I see. Then we shall take a verdict. Who believes Mr. Koyama is guilty? Toshio rose his hand as he said it. Mari rose her hand, and I had no choice but to do the same. Eventually, everyone nervously rose their hands, except for the Koyamas. Only the Kobayashis did not raise their hands. Then who believes he is innocent? Mr. Koyama himself forcefully rose his hand, but surprisingly, neither his wife nor Mr. or Mrs. Kobayashi rose their hands this time. Damn! His own wife saying he's guilty. What do you think? Toshio asked that of Mr. Kobayashi, who grimaced as he responded. I don't know, I can't decide. Mrs. Koyama, what do you think? Toshio sounded surprised when he asked that. She looked away from her husband and bit her lip. Come on, Haruko. Don't tell me you don't believe me. What does this mean? Tell us. She hung her head and still wouldn't answer. Toshio seemed unable to press her, so he decided to put an end to this. It's fine, even if the three of you abstain. We have decided his guilt by majority vote. Fine, do whatever the hell you want. As for where to detain you, the basement is the best place. Is this okay, Mr. Kobayashi? Yes, that is fine. Mr. Kobayashi nodded, but looked like he was in pain. Toshio went to the reception, took a key hanging on the wall, and called for Mr. Koyama. Then please come this way, dear sir. I was trembling. I felt like for a moment I saw a creepy smile on Toshio's face. Ooh. I'd like a comfortable room, please. Mr. Koyama said that, I think intending it as a bluff. Dear, Mrs. Koyama rudely called out. Toshio nodded and accepted his request. I'm sorry, Mari, but could you bring 2 or 3 blankets? Toshio opened the basement door and turned around, as well as 5 or 6 magazines. Offended by Mr. Koyama defiantly saying that, Toshio sternly glared at him. But in the end, he kept his anger in check. Murray soon came back from upstairs with blankets and magazines as requested. Well, good night. When Mr. Koyama received those items, he grinned and went through the basement door. He slowly descended into a basement lit by a red, bare light bulb. When Toshio could no longer see his back, he slammed the door shut and carefully locked it. Now we should all be able to sleep in peace, don't you think so? When Toshio said that, Mari and I looked at each other and timidly nodded. That's right. We won't have to worry anymore, or we shouldn't. But just what was this feeling of dread I couldn't shake off? When we returned to the lounge, Toshio pressed the basement key into Mr. Kobayashi's hands. Once everyone has woken up, please open the basement. Mr. Kobayashi replied in disbelief. Huh? Sure. Why is Mr. Kobayashi like so like... He's like not responding. He's like in a daze or something. From the reply alone, you wouldn't be able to tell who was the employer and who was the employee. Please get some rest, Mr. and Mrs. Kobayashi. All we can do now is hope that the weather improves tomorrow. Yes, I suppose so. Okay, let's return to our room. Mrs. Kobayashi was still crying and her shoulders were twitching. Mr. Kobayashi gently wrapped his arms around her and stood up. There were still myself, Mari, Toshio, Mr. Mikimoto, and Mrs. Koyama. Mrs. Koyama asked in a frail voice, Is my husband really a murderer? I was confused. I would have understood if she said, my husband is not a murderer. But what kind of couple are they? If she asked, is he really a murderer? All I did was deduce it from the facts of the situation. Hey, what's with you acting all unsure now? Is he the killer or not? I became even more confused when Toshio irritatedly said that to me. But did he really behave like a killer? Muttering just a few words, Mr. Mikimoto threw that question at us. Toshio almost spat out. Bastard's probably relieved that we've got no evidence against him. But if police were to come here, would they find any evidence from a forensic investigation? I believe there's zero evidence left. Anyway, I don't think the killer could be anyone besides him. I'm going to my room. Toshio quickly disappeared into the corridor after he said that. Those of us remaining fell silent in front of Mrs. Koyama. Still looking down, she said, I am his second wife. At a loss from hearing that, I looked at Mari's face, but she too looked perplexed. He was so kind to me and the children. However, I heard people call him terrible things at work, like a monster or a devil of a boss. But since he never talked about work with me, I don't know if that was actually true. I know only one side of him and nothing more. But even if Mr. Koyama did vicious things, wouldn't that be a reason for others to have a grudge against him, and not a reason for him to kill? In spite of myself, I ended up trying to stand up for him. Thinking out loud, Mr. Mikimoto said, but maybe he killed them when they tried to kill him. I kept silent as I thought that sounded reasonable as well. Did that man, Mr. Tanaka, chase Mr. Koyama here because of a grudge? Mari forced herself to speak brightly. Anyway, shouldn't you rest too, Mrs. Koyama? You must be thinking about so many things and we don't understand much of anything. It was just as she said. Mrs. Koyama must have agreed because she returned a weak smile, stood up, and started walking unsteadily. Mrs. Koyama slowly went upstairs. Worriedly watching her go out of sight, Mr. Mikimoto spoke. Well, I will return to my room as well. What will you all do? Of course I'd go back to my room, but since we had separate rooms, I'd be away from Mari. I was a little anxious. But for some reason I hesitated to ask her about us sleeping in one of our rooms. I boldly asked her, Mari, won't you come to my room? I'm gonna say that. You're not thinking of anything dirty at a time like this, are you? No way, I'll go, but don't do anything weird. Of course I won't. I didn't even think that would be said. Uneasy about the idea of turning the lights off, we left them all on and went upstairs. When we were going upstairs, Mr. Mikimoto had collapsed for a moment on the stairs. Are you okay? I'm sorry, I was just a little dizzy. But somehow he reached his room on his own 2 feet. Well, be careful. That was the last thing Mr. Mikimoto said before he entered his room. I didn't know what exactly to be careful of, but I felt it was appropriate given the circumstances. When I opened the door to my room, I let Mari go in first. I let Mari sit on the bed, and I sat opposite her on the other bed. Will you stay awake with me until morning? Of course. My body was exhausted, but I didn't think I could sleep that easily. The room fell silent. A night in a ski lodge, a room with just the two of us. It should have been something to look forward to. However, I silently reached out to her and gently grasped her hands. I sat next to her and put my arm around her shoulder. Mari's body became stiff for a moment, but she said nothing. Yeah, don't make a move on her at a time like this. Did she not already tell you to not try anything weird? I couldn't bring myself to make a move on her at a time like this. Her small shoulders were slightly trembling. No matter what happens, I will protect Mari and Mari alone. As embarrassing as it sounded, I took that vow. Mari and I were physically and emotionally exhausted. In the relief of cuddling close together, we must have fallen asleep. I woke up and found myself sleeping on a bed alone. Oh no. Rubbing my puffy eyelids, I looked around the room. Mari wasn't here. Mari? I first tried calling to her. Yeah, no reply. I looked at my watch and it read 3:50. I listened closely to see if she was showering, but I only heard the high-pitched roar of the wind outside the window. I stood up and approached the door. It was open. Even if just barely, the door was definitely open. I shivered. When I was fast asleep, did somebody unlock the door and come inside? Then did they quietly carry Mari out as she was sleeping? No, that would never happen ever. Nobody could have done that without waking either of us. Besides, generally speaking, they wouldn't need to do that. Mari must have had some reason for voluntarily leaving the room. For example, she could have gone back to her room to get something or use her shower. That's all. She was worried about me and didn't want to wake me up. Whatever happened, she was alone now. A dark feeling of dread rose up in my heart. At any rate, I had to make sure she was safe. I had to go find her. Dang, man. The hallway was deathly quiet again, so everyone must be asleep. The lights were still on. I somehow made my way to Mari's room without making a sound. Mari? I knocked on the door and called out to her. No reply. I pressed my ear to the door and listened closely for any sounds inside the room. As I expected, I heard nothing but the wind. Even if she was taking a shower, the bathroom door was right next to the door to the room. I'd at least hear something. I grabbed the knob and tried to twist it. The door opened easily, almost anticlimactically. Mari, are you in there? When I called out, I heard a scream come through the hallway. That scream, that was the kind of scream from facing true fear that just hearing it would make someone tremble. Mari came face to face with something terrifying and was asking for help. Even though I knew that my feet weren't moving at all I could feel was that I didn't want to find out what made her scream like that. I heard her scream again. It was weaker than before, and was a scream more from sadness than from fear. The second floor became quiet again, as if everyone had disappeared. I hoped that somebody would hear her and come rushing out, but I got the feeling what would happen. I decided, you have to go. Like, don't even bother waking anybody up. You gotta go. I decided in an instant to hurry to Mari. I mustered up the courage to head to the stairs. Did these steps always sound like this? I cautiously went down the surprisingly creaky steps. Nobody was in the lounge. When I left the foyer and peeked into the drawing room, I thought my heart had stopped for a moment. The door to the basement was open. Next, my heart started pounding frighteningly quickly. Mari. The voice that I squeezed out of my throat was so hoarse I almost didn't recognize it as my own. Did Mr. Koyama escape from the basement? How in the world could he have? Or on the other hand, did somebody unlock it and go inside? If that was true, for what purpose? Then I heard the echo of loud, rushed footsteps. I nearly jumped up in fright. When I turned around, Mari was there. She'd fallen down from stopping so suddenly after running. Toru, she shouted my name with a mix of both surprise and relief. Mari, what the hell happened? Without answering my questions, she leapt into my chest. I strongly held her shaking shoulders. What happened? Was that you? Who screamed earlier? My uncle and Aunt are. That alone gave me a rough idea, but I didn't want to check it for myself. Were the Kobayashis our next victims now? There was no way that happened. I would never forgive someone killing innocent people one by one. Dumbfounded, I asked, it can't be, even your uncle and aunt? Mari silently nodded several times into my chest. Who in the world? I looked back to the basement. Mr. Koyama, what happened with him? What if Mr. Koyama had escaped from the basement and attacked the Kobayashis? I thought I first had to check if Mr. Koyama was in the basement. I decided to check on the Kobayashis as soon as I could. When I took Mori's hand and tried to go to the back, she shook her head and resisted me. No, I don't want to go back there. She must have seen something truly terrifying, so I couldn't bring myself to force her. However, I couldn't just leave her behind here. You don't need to go in again, but I'll be by your side. I forcefully said that, and Mori reluctantly agreed to come with me. I picked up a mop on the floor in the lounge and made my way towards the back. Did Mr. Koyama escape from the basement and kill the Kobayashis, or... I cut around the stairs and saw 3 rooms in front of me. Mari suddenly stopped in front of the one at the very end. In there, she nodded. I gulped and let go of her hand and stepped inside. The lights were still on. They were brightly illuminating a neat kitchen and a Western-style living room. Tatami mats. It was a very typical dining room for a family. When I saw all this, I didn't feel like there was anything particularly strange. Ooh. Mr. Kobayashi was there. His back was up against the wall, and he was plopped down on the floor with his legs spread out. The kitchen knife was sticking out of his stomach, and the floor around him was now a sea of blood. He must have tried to pull it out himself, but gripping the knife like that made him look like he had committed seppuku. I felt like I was going to throw up and covered my mouth. In a panic, I tried rushing into the bathroom. The moment I opened the bathroom door, something fell out towards me. It was a blood-stained hand. Ah! I screamed involuntarily. The bathroom was covered in blood. Mrs. Kobayashi was naked and leaning against the bathtub. The glass balls that were her empty eyes were staring right at me. I knew as soon as I saw her that she was dead. Mari must have screamed when she saw this. After all, they were her own uncle and aunt. Her scream wasn't just from fear. I couldn't begin to imagine the shock she felt. When I thought about her feelings, I felt unbearable misery and sorrow. When I ran out in a panic, Mari was standing there with her eyes full of tears. Are they really? Looked like she wanted to ask dead. As much as I wanted to deny it, I looked away and nodded. Huh? I felt like I saw a silhouette pass by in the hallway. What's wrong? No, somebody was over there just now. I pointed and suddenly shivered. Was the killer spying on us? Was it Mr. Koyama or someone else? Right now I didn't know anything. Mari dug into my arm so hard it hurt. Toru, I'm scared. We'll be fine. Stay by my side. My hands sweaty, I took my mop again and slowly returned to the lounge. Feeling like I could hear someone breathing, my heart rang like an alarm. We came in front of the basement. The door was open. Wait, what? Who the hell unlocked it? Mr. Koyama? I faced the stairs, stretching down, and called out. No reply. I slowly went down the stairs, one step at a time. I firmly gripped Mari's hand as she walked behind me. A bare light bulb was the only light in the extremely cold wine cellar. Beneath that light was Mr. Koyama collapsed on the floor face down. His head was looking to the side and his eyes were wide open. His face was right in the middle of a pool of dark blood about 2 meters in diameter. Even Mr. Koyama, our situation was now completely inconceivable. A dismembered body, an unseen assailant, Midori beaten to death, and now the Kobayashis and Mr. Koyama. We were no longer solving a mystery now. Would we survive until tomorrow? Not only that, would Mari or I be killed? We had to act to ensure our survival. No more. I can't bear it anymore. Mari clung to me, looked away from Mr. Koyama's corpse, and continued to cry. Mari, snap out of it. You have to pull yourself together or we'll be killed too. I shook her shoulders. Light returned to her blank eyes. Okay, let's first go back upstairs. I didn't know what to do, but I didn't want to stay with a dead body forever. Warily checking around us, we went up the stairs. We needed to report the new incidents to everyone, and we first had to tell Mrs. Koyama. Damn. Still holding Mari's hand, we went back upstairs and pounded on everyone's door. Please wake up. Please wake up. It's an emergency. Please get up. The first door to silently and just barely open was for the 3 girls' room. Kanako restlessly looked around without moving her head and stared at me and Mari. She hadn't changed clothes, so had she been awake the whole time? Did something happen again? When I solemnly nodded to her, Mrs. Koyama opened her door and came out into the hallway. Mrs. Koyama, your husband is... I hesitated to speak. Mario was crying again and looked away. It looked like Mrs. Koyama guessed what happened as soon as she saw us. Once I thought the blood suddenly drained from her face, she lost her balance and put her hand on the wall. I tried to run up to her, but she held me back with her other hand. I'm okay. So where is he? He's in the basement. However, I think that we should all stay together for now. I thought she might have fainted when she heard that her husband had died, but she might be tougher than she looked. Kanako quietly asked, that middle-aged man was killed? Not only that, both Mr. and Mrs. Kobayashi. 3 of them? I heard Kaiko and Aki gasp from behind Kanako. Now that it's come to this, I think we all need to stay together. Would you please let me and Mario, or at least just Mrs. Koyama, come in? For a moment, they seemed to be quietly discussing something in their room, but eventually Kanako faced us and nodded. We urged Mrs. Koyama, who was expressionless like a doll, to enter the 3 girls' room. There should still be Mr. Mikimoto upstairs. Why hasn't he appeared yet? Did he kill everyone? Wait, I'll go check on Mr. Mikimoto. What about Tosho, or whatever his name, Toshi? I told that to Kanako and went to his room. I knocked on the door with all my strength. Mr. Mikimoto, are you in there? As usual, no reply. I gently grabbed the knob and slowly turned it. Surprisingly, the door was unlocked and opened easily. Had he gone somewhere? No, that wasn't it. Mr. Mikimoto was safely lying in bed. He must have nerves of steel to not lock his door at a time like this. Was he confident he wouldn't be killed, or was he himself? I approached the bed and shouted near his ear, Mr. Mikimoto, please wake up, Mr. Mikimoto. However, he did not even flinch. It can't be. Mario was speechless. No way. Was he dead? I considered that for a moment. There's no way he's dead. He must be tired. I tried to shake his body from above his sheets. Mr. Mikimoto, he felt stiff like a log. Did you try checking his pulse? Don't be ridiculous. How would he die if he hasn't been injured again after going outside? Saying that, I gently grabbed his arm, which was hanging out of the sheets. His arm was frozen like ice, and I reflexively pulled my hand back. He's gone cold. They even killed Mr. Mikimoto. I grabbed his hand again in a panic and carefully looked for a pulse. Is he dead? I couldn't tell from Mari's face whether she was crying or laughing when she asked that. All I could do was silently nod. His pulse had completely stopped.